welcome, hola, bienvenidos, and so on. I was going to do all the languages, but I forgot half of them. This is another episode of Get to Know Your Modding Community with Spiff, who was here last time, and our honoured guest Drew, who is our newcomer to all this, our show that is. And we have an exciting set of topics prepared, including insight into both virtual reality and how it can work with Fallout 4, and the Nukaworld DLC, with Spiff being an honoured guest in the beta program. So we're going to be talking about all that, and of course the regular topics as well. So Drew, welcome to the show, and Spiff, welcome as well. We're going to start off with Nukaworld. So Spiff, you just you take it away.
Alright, well, I guess first I'll talk about my experience with it. First of all, beta really broken, so I wasn't able to experience much of the questing, but I was able to get into the console and get into the assets and see a lot of the stuff that they have planned, and it looks really cool. One of the things you'll notice in the video right now is that there's a new gun, which is like modeled after an assault rifle, AK-47 kind of styled thing, and I noticed that has a lot of customizability, and that is wielded by most raiders in the Nukaworld DLC, along with some revolvers and some other stuff. In the DLC, you'll also be able to see in the video that'll be playing, there's a lot of new animals. One of them was actually seen in the trailer. It was the Gator Deathclaw, so that was a pretty interesting creature. Some other ones I noticed was that there's clown ghouls, which I unfortunately wasn't able to get any footage of. There's gorillas, mutated gorillas. The ants are back. They've got swarms of bugs, giant rats. I'm trying to think of all the others now. There's the worms, which you've seen in the trailer. Overall, just it's looking like it's shaping up to be a pretty good finale to a run of okay DLCs in Fallout 4.
Well, that's wonderful, and I'm also going to pretend as if we haven't had this conversation for the last 3 hours. Basically, I was wondering. About the worms in particular, because they were a feature that you were very curious about. How do you feel like they sort of behave in the game and so on? Did they live up to your expectations?
I think they lived right up to my expectations, the worms. I didn't really know that I wanted a creature like that in Fallout until I actually experienced them from Nukaworld in-game. I think they fit into the kind of deserted wasteland mood really well, and I like the fact that, like mole rats, they burrow and then they pop back out of the ground, and they're just so fast, like they slither around you. It's just it's a really refreshing and interesting enemy to see after we've got, so many ghouls and so many raiders and so many different variants of other four-legged and two-legged creatures.
Oh yes, absolutely. Drew, what are you curious about in the Nukaworld?
I remember seeing a lot about being able to be cast into more of a raider role or doing raider-like activities, and it sounded from the features list like they were going to give you the opportunity to start taking settlements or areas in there under a new method or a new mechanic, and I'm really interested to see how they incorporated that into their existing mechanics.
I also am very excited about that, and it's a very very good point you raise. Spiff, did you manage to get any insight into all this in the buggy hellfest that was the beta release?
Unfortunately, I was not able to get any insight into the more gameplay side of things, but as far as raiders go, I can definitely say that the armors and whatnot and their general appearance has been stepped up a lot, and they look a lot more fearsome than, those people wearing harnesses and onesies that you're fighting, in the general Commonwealth.
So they've certainly fleshed out on the concept, which perhaps would prove potential to the new features.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's always reassuring. We'll just have to hope for the best. And of course, the thing I was very curious about myself, it was, the insects and all the new creatures. Now, there is a zoo, of course, in the Nukaworld, which provides a lot of new exotic mutated animals, and perhaps you'd like to tell us a bit more about those.
Alright, so from my understanding, and what I could see in the actual Nukaworld files, is that Nukaworld is separated into multiple areas of the park. They've got the zoo, they've got a western area, they've got the main gate, they've got a castle, and all these other areas. But as we're talking about right now, the zoo has a few new animals that you'll be seeing, a few new mutated things that I assume you'll be fighting. One of them is what people have already seen, which is the gator claw, or the gator death claw. I wasn't able to find this one in the game, but I think that there's a yak in there based off the Brahmin. There's also gazelles. I noticed crickets, giant mutated crickets, which I don't know if they'd be in a zoo, but you know. I think that was about it, and the gorillas. So again, not too many animals, but just enough to kind of mix it up and make it interesting, and definitely feels like it was a zoo area.
And that's of course very fascinating, and it's interesting because with the implementation of giant mutated crickets, we can also expect a lot of giant mutated bad jokes, like that one, and. I'm certainly looking forward to that a great deal. While I'm also asking myself how a gazelle can in any way be dangerous. Yeah.
Well, those actually, when I spawned them in, I don't know if it was a glitch on my part or if it's just their AI, but unlike the radstags, I noticed that those were docile. They didn't attack me at all, and they were quite a lot smaller than me too.
Perhaps a good sort of wasteland house pet. But something I like about the radstags in particular is that they are complete psychopaths. Like, because they have this almost like passive-aggressive AI. So I've had radstags almost stalk me in my settlements. And I look outside the window and they're just standing there staring in. And then when I go outside, they just run off and leave. And they were like, yeah, they was almost following me for hours. They're the creepiest enemies in the game. Simply because they have that passive-aggressive combat AI. And yeah, if the gazelles could be equally harrowing, that would be fantastic. That's of course remarkable. And you also mentioned the new Kalashnikov. Were there any other guns that you noticed, or any other weapons, or is that the sort of big one?
I do know that there's other weapons. Oh, and I just remembered this. I thought some people might like to know this. So first of all, as far as weapons go, I also noticed that you might have seen a gun in the trailer, particularly when you've seen the worm. And that's actually an acid gun based off of the, what's it called, the Deliverer. So I don't know if that's going to be a mod for the Deliverer, or if it's going to be its own separate gun. But it's basically just a gun that shoots acid. I also noticed that there's the Nuka Zapper, which can famously be seen in all the Nuka-Cola posters around the wasteland. And another thing that can be famously seen in those posters that you'll find in the DLC is the Nuka-Cola space outfit. So those are two things that are pretty interesting, I've noticed. But as far as weapons go, like I said, it's mainly the AK-type rifle, the acid gun, and then they have a few other revolvers and whatnot in there.
Yeah. That sounds absolutely fascinating. And I believe you also mentioned that they have a lot of weapon mods on the AK in particular.
Yes, definitely. It's a very versatile weapon. You can bring it to multiple scenarios. Of course, you've got the receivers from automatic all the way to just, single fire. And you've got, like, sniper barrels, ported sniper barrels, automatic barrels, short barrels, drum mags, normal mags. I don't know if I already mentioned that there's scopes, muzzles, compensators, suppressors. It feels like a gun to me that you could bring into any scenario. So I'm really happy to see that in the game.
That's wonderful, and of course a lot of people have been talking about that particular gap where there was no previous assault rifle. It was submachine gun and then the water-cooled light machine gun coming right in, and now it's like there is something in the middle. There's a proper assault rifle in the game, which sort of bridges that gap. So that's very exciting to see, and it seems like they're certainly listening to their community as well.
Yeah, I'm just curious if you've had a chance to find out, like with the Nuka gun that you see everywhere, have they actually put in like mod pieces for it and incorporated it on the same level as the original guns, or is it more of a, this is what it is and it's what you get type deal?
I don't know to certain extents what it's like and how it's going to work, but I have noticed there's about 4 mods when I looked in the files for the gun, so I think you are going to have some modularity with it, but similar to the Alien Blaster, it's not going to be something that you can, completely turn into something different like the AK-type rifle that we're seeing.
Yes, and it's a very good question, Drew. I was curious about that myself as well, and perhaps in your recording, because of course, sometimes we do things afterwards. You could include a bit of recording of the new mods that we can run in the background now, so the users will actually know more while we're talking about it than we do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do one of those things, a weird sort of time warp, provide some insight. Hopefully, it could just be disappointing stock footage at this point. Who knows? We'll see how it goes.
Implement some screenshots for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say that right, no, ghouls. We should tell the viewers about your discovery there, shouldn't we?
All right. So, as far as ghouls go, I again disappointingly wasn't able to find the actual ID for it until later on. But I noticed that there was clown ghouls. So that should prove interesting. There's clown ghouls, and I think there was cave ghouls. So it'll be an interesting enemy to fight for sure. I think it definitely mixes it up from just your average ordinary ghoul. And Thumblesteen and I were talking about this. I think it'll be scary. He thinks it'll be silly. So
Yeah. I mean, at least before the Decay update comes out. After that, it'll be terrifying. I can assure you. Yeah, I'd say we've covered this topic. Do you have anything else you'd like to share, Spiff? Or Drew, if you have any questions?
Nothing I can think of.
All right. Well, then I say that we give the floor to you, Drew, and you tell us about your remarkable insights and discoveries with regards to the new way of playing Fallout 4.
Well, I've had a little time to play around with the HTC Vive headset, virtual reality headset, and I found a third-party program that allowed you to enter non-VR games in virtual reality. And the interface was, I mean, you're still very much driven on the regular control system for the game. It's still mouse interface and keyboard controls, so it's from a seated position. But as you turn your head, it turns the screen as well, so you can look around physically and see what's around you. And it adds a 3D depth perception to the cameras. Not a real strong one, not overpowering, but it's enough there that you're aware of being a bit more immersed into the surroundings and into the environment of the game. And like I said, yeah, it requires a third-party program to adapt it into the virtual reality, and there are some limitations to the system. Specifically, the interface, or the user interface elements of the game, as far as your HUD, compass, quest markers, everything like that goes, tends to be kind of out of use. So it's not fully incorporated to the point that it's something that you would want to use on a regular basis, but it definitely has potential, and it definitely has promise for taking the game to a new level, to a new element, and to a new platform.
That's very fascinating, and usually this is the point where I ask you questions, but you cover the topic very well. But something I am a bit curious about, it's that a lot of people, they talk about experiencing seasickness and what have you. Usually we use VR stuff. Did you ever feel anything about that, or is Fallout a
I've heard comments on that, and I kind of see where that might be a problem for people that suffer from motion sickness and the like. But I mean, a lot of the movement that you're going to see on the screen is caused by your own body, by your own head movement, unless you're using the mouse a lot. If you're spinning the mouse a lot, then it kind of creates, I mean, you might have a little bit of a problem, but the HTC Vive, the way that thing displays to you, is pretty solid and pretty stable under most circumstances. So it's if you're doing a lot of moving and a lot of quick things, and you normally suffer from like seasickness or motion sickness or car sickness or anything like that, I could see that being a problem. But personal experience, I didn't really have any kind of problems with that. I didn't have a lot of disorientation or vertigo or any kind of nausea or anything of that nature.
All right, well, that's always good to know. Very, very promising. And I was thinking, you mentioned issues with the interface, and we also discussed that a bit at length before the recording. And would you like to specify perhaps a bit on how it could be improved?
Well, anything that moved it more to the center of the screen would be immensely helpful. when you're viewing through a VR headset, the screens are very close to your eye, and they're developed in such a way that it allows it to create a believable image at close range. But this means because you're only viewing it with a single eye, its focus is really important. You can't change your own focus to kind of see it better, and you can't look at other parts of it. The image gets just a hair blurry as you move from the center of the lens out towards the outside of it. So anything that brought the UI elements that are on the edges of the screen or anywhere else outside of the center view area inward would be immensely helpful. The way that the system works right now, you have to shell out of first person in order to see the entire UI and then show yourself back into first person. And I don't mean in-game going from third to first perspective, but through this third-party program, there's like 3 different hotkeys that you have to hit in order to view it like a monitor screen and then get back in.
All right. Well, so that's of course. It feels like we've almost already covered the mods you'd like to see portion, but yeah, it's a very interesting premise that you've introduced, and I was also thinking more on a personal note. Did you ever get a chance to ride a vertibird? That must have been amazing.
No, I was really trying to, but I haven't had a chance to get that far into it yet.
I feel like you might have to join us again while you have, so we can hear about that. That would be awesome. But yeah, so that's that's remarkable. And if any modders who are experienced in sort of user interface modification are interested in our project that I think could help bring Fallout 4 into the future, this is it. This would be really cool. And of course, the headset that you used, you said it was called HTC?
Yes, it's the HTC Vive, which is developed by HTC in partnership with Steam.
Okay, so it's not the other one that's become very popular these days.
This is the new one.
Okay.
The newest one available. The other one was the Oculus Rift.
Right, yes. So just so people know which products to look for if they're interested. So it's not the Oculus, it's the HTC that we can confirm works with perhaps some need for optimization. But yeah, well, this is amazing stuff by all means. And do you have anything else you feel to add, Drew? Or
well, I know I mentioned it just kind of as a third-party program, but if anyone is interested in trying this themselves, the program that you need, and it is not free. And again, I'm not affiliated with it in any way, so But the program that you're going to need is called My Dream Swift. That's 2 words, not 3. My Dream is just 1 word. Which actually allows you to incorporate a lot of non-VR games into virtual reality if you don't want to wait for them to do the content.
All right. Well, that's very good to know. And Spiff, do you perhaps have any questions to Drew about this?
Not really. I think it sounds like an interesting experience, and it'll be interesting, I think, to see what modders can do, especially with the aid of VR.
Absolutely. So yeah, bright future ahead of us with VR implementation. Remarkable stuff, truly. So for the next segment, we're going to discuss planned mods. Now, me and Spiffy, we were here previously talking about our planned mods, so it might seem like what's about to happen you've already heard, but since then, some new developments have actually occurred. And Spiff, if you'd like to do the honors of talking about our most recent collaboration.
Alright, so yeah, like Thumblesteen said, as you've heard in the last episode, I was working on this mod called Cold Steel, and originally that had been put on pause, but I'm happy to say that it's now back up in development. It's something that I'm really excited to be working on again, and really excited to be working on with Thumblesteen, because, even though I'm a modder, I don't have all the experience that I need or necessarily even all the time that I need to finish this by myself. And if I were to do it by myself, it would have been finished in, God knows, maybe another 2 years. But with the extra help now, it's really cool. I should probably tell you more about the mod. It's called Cold Steel. If you've been active on the Fallout 3 Nexus, you might have seen some screenshots and stuff. And basically, what this mod does is it's an alternate, I want to say game or story in a way, set in Fallout 3's world space. And the whole premise is it takes place 12 years after the bombs fall, where you are part of a division called the Metro Rangers. You're a group of survivors living in a metro station. And let's just say it starts off with you, and you've gotten captured, and you have to fight your way out of a certain situation in the of the remnants of the U.S. Military. So it's shaping up to be a pretty cool mod. Thumblesteen, is there anything you'd like to add to it?
Well, yeah, it is, and it's perhaps about announcing the synthesis from our collaboration, if you will, because of course we've now found Odin, and the three of us have become the 3LM. And it's an interesting name what that stands for, because it stands for the Three Laser Musketeers, being influenced by the Minutemen from Fallout 4. And we're basically our own modding team now, and we're going to be working on Obscurum 3 together as well, along with one project that we are nowhere ready to announce because we haven't even started on Obscurum 3 yet. So yeah, there's some yeah.
Yeah, the name was Thumblesteen's idea, by the way, just so everyone is aware.
Yeah, I know. You don't want to get blamed for that one, right? That's what happens when you think of a name at like 2 a.m. in the morning, right? But yeah, that's our new team, 3LM, and we'll be releasing Cold Steel within. We're hoping this Christmas. Just before Christmas.
Hopefully by December it'll be playable.
Yeah, because we thought, what better time than December to experience a nice nuclear winter, holiday cheer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some nice cannibals in there,
Exactly.
Cannibals always make for a Merry Christmas.
Very true, yes.
Let's just say I'm very excited about the mod, and I'm very excited to get people playing it, so...
Oh yeah, and also to get people back to Fallout 3 again.
That's yeah.
Yeah. So if you got Fallout 3 laying around and you thought that you'd already gotten everything out of it that you could, brace yourself. There's going to be more, right?
And thing I might add is if your Fallout 3 is supposedly broken, don't worry about that. I've made a Steam guide and I know multiple fixes. All of which have worked for me and my friends, so that'll also be linked on the mod page. So try those before you give up on Fallout 3.
In fact, we could link them in this video as well, so in case people want to play regular Fallout 3.
Yeah, we can do that definitely.
Absolutely. So there you go, everyone. You're welcome. We did another good deed. Yeah. All right. So I'd say we've covered this topic, and now it's back to you, Drew, for mods you like.
Well. I'd say currently the favorite of mine is Easily Regrowth Overhaul, which is, of course, by Spiffy Trooper here. And not just saying that to kiss ass, it really is an incredible mod, incredibly well done.
Oh, thank you.
I'd have to say the second one on that list would be Don't Call Me Settler, because I'm a big fan of things that increase the immersion in the game. And this mod allows you to start seeing, without having to manually set, names on your settlers, which just adds so much flavor to the game and so much depth and everything to the feel of it and the experience of it. So that mod, Don't Call Me Settler, Names, Jobs, Tools by A1, A3, A6, A9, is definitely worth a look for anyone that's looking to get away from just having a bunch of people named Settler all over the place all the time. I have to say the third one on my list for mods that I definitely like at the moment that really stand out for me is Take Cover by Registrator 2000. This mod is something that I was so happy to see make an appearance. I always felt that cover systems in shooting games of this nature, any kind of first-person shooter, was just such a benefit to the user as far as creating not only an immersive system where you're not just staring at walls or trying to stand behind things, but actually physically interacting on the character level with your cover. And it allows you to, blind fire around cover, to lean out around the cover. It even gives you the ability to vault over objects. It's an incredible mod to play with, and an incredible asset, I feel, to the first-person shooter experiences that you can have in a Fallout game.
All right. Well, that's a great selection, and I've tried some of those myself, and I like it a lot. And it's like Drew said that he isn't kissing ass. He told me about that before he knew who Spiffy was. It's just another credit to Spiff's hard work. And we're not trying to turn this into a circle jerk. So great. And Drew, because you're a bit of a special guest here, because usually there are like modest topics and community topics, but you've been in both now with virtual reality and such. So I hope you're not too exhausted, because again, the topic is yours. Mods you'd like to see.
Well, I know I touched on it earlier, but things that are involving like UI improvements, things of that nature, particularly on the VR, and that's definitely something I'm looking forward to and hoping to see. I really hope someone decides to pick up that project. Outside of that, things that I'd kind of like to see is I've seen something that returns pausing in VATS to the game, but it was part of something else. I haven't seen that as like a standalone mod, and I feel that would really kind of be a nice addition to the lineup. Something that returns the RPG aspects to the game without necessarily detracting from the FPS aspects of the game. Things of that nature is something I'd really like to see, and anything that could really expand on the I'm not sure quite how to say this, but the options that are available. I've seen a couple of
play styles, perhaps.
Well, as far as the character goes, I mean, I know that the Fallout series has always been very traditionally set with a very specific character creation system, but I always thought it would be a bit fun to play around with other options, as far as like having a ghoul character or a super mutant character or anything of that nature. And I've seen a few mods of that nature, and some of them are pretty good, and some of them could use a little bit of polish. But I'd like to see something that would expand on that a bit more as well. Something that gives the player an opportunity to experience the game from a completely new perspective.
I like that idea. And also, of course, these days we also have the synths. That would be interesting.
Yeah, or as a robot, if they could find a way to allow you to use the automaton bench to upgrade yourself.
That would be amazing. And it's actually very possible, because all those varieties in all creatures in the creation kit are actually done by armor pieces. So the ghouls, when they wear their bodies, that's actually an armor that's equipable for ghouls. So it is very possible. And I like that idea a lot, Drew. You really tapped into something there. And what about you, Spiff? Can you think of any good mod ideas? Or
Yeah, well, first of all, expanding on the whole RPG element thing, I did see one alternate start mod, but this had the same problem for me that Fallout 4 did, and that's it sets you a predetermined past. It started you off in the Institute and basically said, you're a synth, but now you can choose which occupation you want to be in the Wasteland. But that still doesn't help me get over the fact that I'm still a synth and I still have a preset story in a way. So I really want to see a mod where, it's an alternate start mod, but instead of any predetermined story, just do it like the New Vegas ones, where you spawn in a shack somewhere, everything in the prologue was a dream, but you're still trying to find your son and whatnot. I think that would be really nice to see, because, I do like to do some role-playing playthroughs as much as I like the story. And it was really hard to do that with that alternate start mod that set you in the Institute, because again, you still had a preset story. Other than that, the one other kind of mod, I'm going to categorize this as a type of mod that I want to see on the Nexus, is more armor mods that aren't slutty.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't want to walk around the wasteland as a Barbie doll with my tits hanging out. I do have some female characters, and I gotta say, it's really hard to find good quality armors that look badass for a female character without exposing half their body.
Yeah, yeah, and also to sort of the married portion of the modding community, it would be great if I didn't constantly have to explain to my wife why I required a CBB stuff. You know, just every mod needs it, but yeah, what are you gonna do? But yeah, so I'd say we've covered that topic, and now for a bit of wisdom. Now, Drew, you said something which I thought was very interesting about assets and from a user perspective. Could you perhaps?
Yeah, I was. I show a lot of the mods that I really like to my friends and try and get them to play around with them and check them out. And a lot of them are really interested in the mods that are out there, and not only the ones that I use, but ones that they find on the site themselves. And one of the main limiting factors, because I know a lot of people that are not computer savvy, and there's a lot of people out there that aren't. One of the main limiting factors to them as far as what they try and what they're willing to download or install or play around with is whether or not it's something that they can handle the installation of. Now, with the assets being handled the way they are currently, and all of the proprietary claims, a lot of things don't get repackaged together. So when you look at the install instructions, it tells you, you need mod A and then mod B and mod C, and they have to be installed in this order with these overwrites, and you have to move these assets around. If these things were packaged for the user so that it was one file download, one click install, you'd have a lot more people willing to give more things a try. It's really intimidating for a lot of laymen to come into the system to look at the directions that are involved in installing something like ENB and to try and make their way through this on their own with no knowledge of what they're doing or how to get it done.
I think that's a very good point, and also a very profound point. To be honest, not many people have touched upon that subject. So, what about you, Spiff? Do you have any insights you'd like to share with the audience?
As I usually do, I'll give out some modding wisdom. And this is either for people looking to edit their game just for themselves or release a mod that would require such measures to be taken. But I've actually recently discovered how to attach an INI file to an ESP. And for those who don't know what that is, it's the way that, the best way I can describe it is archive invalidation. And the way that you originally had to mod for Fallout 4 was go into your Fallout 4 INI and edit some strings in there to make everything work. Now, how this can benefit you in a mod, having your own INI file, is you can do multiple things that you would normally have to tell the users to do. For example, in my regrowth mod, originally the trees wouldn't show up. And I discovered that this was because of a line called BUs combined objects equals 0. And I originally had to tell people to go into their games and do this themselves, and I had even released my own INI preset for Fallout 4 that could replace other people's. But like I said, I recently found out how to attach them. So what you do is you take your ESP and you name it to whatever you want. Say it was like test ESP. And then for that ESP, you get a Word document, just a random Word document, and name it test.ini, and you will have to go into Windows and make sure that the file extensions are turned on so you can rename it from the Word document to ini, and then it'll turn into a configuration file in which you can put a ton of different configuration settings that will be useful to whatever mod you're making. Some of the ones that I suggest, or that I use in my regrowth mod, are, like I already said, bused combined object 0, bused pre-created scalls 0, and basically what that one does is it allows all mesh replacements to be put into static collections. So like say there's a group of trees, if you replace that group of trees with some pine trees, that group of trees might not be replaced because it's all packed into one collection. And what that line does is it says, I don't care if it's packed into a collection, just replace the trees anyway. Another useful one is F player disable sprinting loading cell distance 0, which disables the sprinting glitch. And there's a ton of other, but I'll get Thumblesteen to put them in the description so I don't waste all the time on the video just talking about all the different
thanks for
things.
the job there, mate. Just right out of nowhere. No, I'll be happy to do it, of course. But and it's a good point you raise as well, Spiff, because it sort of it touches on what Drew mentioned. With making it easier for the user to install things, and this of course is a great leap in doing so, particularly for console users who are incapable of changing their in-ear files. So I think that's a very good point, and I like how the two of you sort of shared ideas that sort of complement one another. As for me, my bit of wisdom is to always be sure to prepare a bit of wisdom before doing a bit of wisdom segments, because I had completely forgotten about that. So, yeah. And now, this last part of the show is me inviting the next guest. And, of course, you, Drew, you're the first one who has picked up on this offer. And perhaps, as you can attest, we do just let anyone in, no gatekeepers, nothing like that, no bias. And we're, of course, very happy to have you here.
Very friendly, too.
Oh, cheers. But, yeah, so if you want to be on here and talk to us and represent the community like Drew has done today, then just send me a private message on the Nexus, and we'll get a recording set up, So I would like to thank you all for listening and watching. If you're interested in more of these episodes, it's always good to subscribe. And if you enjoy the video, you can always like it. And we'll have all our mods that we've talked about down in the description, so you can check those out. Have fun with it. Remember that you can do more than just.
Wait.
Whoa, what?
Before you end it, I just want to say this, and Thumblesteen, you may disagree, but closer to the release of Cold Steel, I do want to do a beta where I can take like a group of 15 people and let them test it, just so I can get some feedback before I release it. That's all I wanted to say. I didn't really know where to fit that in during the discussion.
You could have mentioned it during the 3-hour talk before the recording. Just an idea. But
because.
But yeah. Anyway, thank you, Spiffy, for this emergency interruption. I've completely lost track. Look, thanks everyone for watching. I believe I covered everything. Have a pleasant whatever time zone you're in. Cheerio.